What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel. She is Abby Schnable. I am Noah Hiles, and Abby, it's here. The tournament, the big dance. It has finally arrived. I'm coming to you live from beautiful, scenic Dayton, Ohio. The number one college basketball tourist location of the week so far, and that's because the first 4 games of the NCAA tournament will take place here, including one that involves the Pittsburgh Panthers. We're going to preview that. We're going to talk Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia's overall tournament outlook, and we are going to give our Final Four picks if Abby ever gets around to filling out a bracket. Now, to be fair, she was busy this weekend covering Penn State in Indianapolis, Chicago, excuse me. Yeah, going on a Big Ten tournament run. But it's a great week, Abby. I mean, just real quick before we get started, and I'm putting you on the spot here. What is your favorite March Madness moment? Like, when you think of March Madness, like, what's one that comes to mind for you?
I'm not going to do my cop-out answer because my cop-out answer is the Final Four for Loyola. That was my freshman year. Insane. No, I think my favorite, and it's less of a specific moment, but more of a run. And it's one of the teams that made me fall in love, like, with college basketball, and it was Butler 2010.
Is that the Duke year or the year after when they lost to UConn?
Well, I honestly both. Like, watching that journey of Butler kind of really rise and then do it again the next year. That's kind of what made me fall in love with college basketball. And I think I've told this story before, maybe not on this podcast, but I've definitely said it to you, is that my mom is a college basketball fiend, and we grew up and she let us take school off the first Thursday and Friday of the tournament, and we just got to watch basketball, multiple TVs going, and that's how I'll have it set up this week. And it's as I put in my Instagram caption, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, it really is. It's just you're talking to a guy whose birthday is Thursday, and I could care less about that. And that's it. Like, my 2 favorite days of the year, my 3 favorite days of the year are the first 2 days of March Madness and opening day for Major League Baseball. And they kind of like run very close together. It's just so much fun. My favorite memory for one game, my favorite memory is probably one of my earliest March Madness moments. The first bracket I remember filling out. I'm pretty sure I've did some before this, but the one that where I was glued to the whole college basketball season would have been in 2005. I was in 4th grade, and I got the entire Final Four correct.
Wow.
And it's the only time I've ever done that in my entire life. I had the championship game was North Carolina, Illinois, and North Carolina won. I believe that was Roy Williams' first championship as the head coach at UNC, or it might have been Dean Smith's last. I'm not sure. Again, it was a while ago. I was only 10 years old when it happened. But yeah, that was my first one. I remember thinking this bracket stuff's easy, and I have not come close to replicating that type of success since.
I used to fill out my brackets by jersey colors when I was a kid, and my favorite color was purple. So Kansas State and Northwestern, anytime they were in, LSU, whoever, if they
Mount
were
Union, purple. D3. Final Four?
I didn't do D3, but they would have.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it was always purple, and I would sit there at the kitchen table with my dad and be like, what color do they wear? What's their mascot? And then I got older, and I actually
watched the games, yeah.
But yeah.
Let's talk some Pitt hoops. Panthers tip off at 9:10 p.m. That's flexible, obviously, depending on the first game when it ends. But tomorrow evening, Tuesday evening, whenever you're watching this, against Mississippi State. These are 2 teams that I think are, I don't know, probably not that similar, I would say. Abby, just from what you know about them, I mean, what are you looking for from Pitt in this game?
Yeah, I think they just need to be offensively solid. Like, there can't really be any lulls. Like, yes, it's a game of runs, but they really can't let Mississippi State just completely shut them down, because then that's the end of the road. I mean, Mississippi State holds opponents to 39.3% per game. That's very impressive. I don't love the matchup with how long they are. They've got those 2-6-7 guys, and yeah, Pitt has Fetty, which is helpful, but they do play a lot of small ball. And, we've seen this season that if they're not hitting shots, if Pitt is not hitting shots, they struggle. And Mississippi State's really going to put the pressure on, especially on the perimeter. And so I'm really looking for guys like Jamarius Burton, Blake Hinson to really step up, hit those shots that necessarily aren't on the perimeter. Hitting the tough shots are going to be really important because I think for both teams, neither team is really going to get an easy bucket. Both are very good defensively. So it's going to be about making the most of any opportunities you have, and hitting the tough shots. Like to me, it's really going to come down to tough shots and good shot selection.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I just look at Mississippi State's defense. They're the only team in the country to be inside the top 20 in scoring defense, opposing field goal percentage, and steals. Mm-hmm. That's really impressive. I mean, that shows that they do things well in all levels of defense. But at the same time, I'm not really worried when it comes to seeing Pitt score the basketball. They've played against some really talented defenses this year, and they find a way to get going. And I will say I feel like they haven't got the best looks. I actually talked to Greg Elliott about this today, Monday, during the open locker room before practice today, and he admitted, he said, yeah, we really have not got the looks that we really wanted to in recent games. But he said ball movement's key. And if they can do that, they probably will find a way to get a little bit more opportunities from the outside. And it just comes down to the finishing and hitting those shots, which they've been able to do more often than not. I think the big thing for Pitt is defensively. This is not a good offensive team, no. Mississippi State. But with its best player, Smith, down low, a guy who averages 15 points and 8.5 rebounds a game, you got to control the offensive glass. You can't give the Bulldogs numerous opportunities, because if you do, that's how they're going to lose this game. You're gonna end up in foul trouble. You're gonna just give them more opportunities to shoot and find an offensive rhythm. And second chances have been a problem at times for Pitt. And you look, the one big man they really have on their roster that's willing, or that's kind of able to play 20 plus minutes in this tournament, he's questionable. Jeff Capel said Fetty Federico, game time decision for this one. And if they don't have him, that is, I don't know what they do. I don't know if you go small and you put Henson at the 5, you put Nike Sabandi in there and you just play a perimeter game. That's probably what I would do. And then you bring in the Diaz-Graham twins together in a wave. It'll be really interesting. Now, I did speak to Fetty. All indications seem to be he thinks he's playing, but we'll see and find out. And how will he be utilized? But it's really going to come down to controlling the offensive glass, limiting second chance opportunities, because this isn't a team that's going to make a lot of first shot chances. But if they miss and Smith and everyone else can get some opportunities on the glass, Pitt's going to be in trouble. So, I mean, what's your score prediction here? What do you see playing out?
I could see it being pretty low scoring. Yeah. I feel like it's going to be a 1 to 50 kind of game. I'd say, oh God, I haven't looked at the odds as Noah and I were talking.
It's
about.
A 2-point spread. Mississippi State favorite.
Yeah.
As of last time I checked. And I look at the odds a lot.
I've told Noah, it's been a busy couple of days and I'm a little tired, so I haven't done too much research. But I don't know. I'd say it was 67, 62. Mississippi State. I just think that team is playing well right now. I mean, they made it to the semis in the SEC. The SEC is a tough league this year, and they've got the momentum. Whereas Pitt has had a couple of days off, and that can be a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing. But yeah, I'll go 67, 62, Mississippi State. What about you?
Yeah, I'll similar. I'll just say we'll say 63-60 Mississippi State. I think that Pitt makes this a game, but the reality is this Pitt team has not been playing great basketball. It hasn't been playing well for about 2-3 weeks now. You can point at the one Syracuse game as an outlier, but really since that Virginia Tech loss, this team has not looked like its old self. Granted, I will say if this team can find its January self, it has a pretty good spot to go on a deep run, but I don't know how you do that. I think it's a little gassed. I think it's kind of been figured out a little bit. I think it's banged up, and it's going to be tough. I think that probably because we both picked against Pitt, Pitt's gonna like win this game by 20 now. There's part of me that thinks that, but I'll go with the Bulldogs in a close one.
I've been right on my predictions, ACC predictions in the past week or so.
Yeah, congrats. You picked Duke, the odds-on favorite to win.
I said Duke or Virginia, and they were the two that made it to the final.
Oh, you mean Duke and the highest-ranked team in the ACC all year long?
And then the best one was that Noah asked me where I thought he would be, and if Pitt makes it through Dayton, he's going to be in Greensboro, and that's what I said.
That's very impressive, yes. Although I'm not in Greensboro yet. All right. So we'll move on now. You look at their paths, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but Pitt is an 11 seed, Penn State is a 10 seed, West Virginia is a 9 seed. They're all three in separate regions. Knowing how things have gone since the both of us have joined this media outlet, there's a very good chance they all end up in the Final Four, just because everything seems to be crazy here since we started. I couldn't imagine the stress upon our sports department if that actually did take place. But, Abby, one of these teams, they're probably going to go on a run. And maybe none of them do. But who, in your opinion, has the best chance, the best path to make it into the second weekend?
So I've seen all three play in person, and which has been a whirlwind and very fun. And they all three, I mean, Pitt and Penn State have some similarities, but they're all three fairly different teams. I think so. You look at Penn State and Texas A&M. That's their first matchup, which Jay Wright called the best first game of the whole tourney. For the record,
disagree.
I don't know. I think A&M probably should have been a higher seed, and I think Penn State could likely get could ruin their tournament chances because of a missed seed. Because Texas A&M is high. I mean, they beat Alabama in the last regular season game of the season and made it to the semis. But they are a high turnover team, and Penn State's defense can really capitalize on those. And then you look at West Virginia, who's playing Maryland. I think this is a chance where we're really going to get to see whether or not the Big 12 is actually as good as we think, because, West Virginia kind of snuck in with a sub 500 win record in the conference. But, I mean, I don't know. They're both mature teams. I just wanted to kind of preview those real quick. But personally, I think Penn State has the most likelihood of the three teams to get past this first week. However, asterisk on this is that, I'm very much on the frame of mind that Texas is either going to get destroyed in the first round, second round, or win the whole thing. And so, and that's who Penn State likely would play unless Colgate, which would be insane. But unless Colgate manages to beat Texas in the first round, that's who Penn State would play in the second. And so that's my asterisk. But I just think Penn State's playing the best of the three teams right now. I mean, they just went on this huge run, which is huge for morale, first of all. Because, I mean, you even look just 2 weeks ago, they were not in the field. Yeah. They were not.
No, not even close.
And then you go into the tournament, you win 3 games, and then you get Purdue in the final and only lose by 2. That's impressive. They've got a lot going for them. I think they're of the three, they're the hottest, and they're the most equipped defensively and offensively to do well in the tournament. Now, I don't like how they match up with Texas A&M in the first just to start, especially with how iffy Penn State shooting has been the past 2-ish days. But that's probably my pick. And then I don't know. It's so hard with West Virginia to gauge because we've only seen them really play Big 12 teams, and they've done well recently. But if I had to pick a second, I'd probably say them and then Pitt last, just because we do know that Fetty is a little whether he plays or not tomorrow, we know that he is not 100%. And that's a huge thing. And I feel like Penn State and West Virginia are both playing better basketball than Pitt right now. Granted, I could be completely surprised, but I think Penn State's the most likely to make it to next week of the three.
I'll go with West Virginia for me, and here's why. I think that West Virginia will beat Maryland. I just haven't been impressed with Maryland. I don't think it's been playing well recently. And West Virginia is a decent team, right? But the matchup that it comes down to, you would hope that West Virginia would be able to beat an 8. And while they're playing the top seed in the tournament, I like a Bob Huggins coach defense against a backcourt that includes 3 freshmen.
Fair.
That's what I bring it down to. Now, does one of those freshmen happen to be probably the best player in the country? Yes, he does. But freshmen make dumb mistakes, and they tend to make them primarily when the pressure is the highest. And these guys they haven't been in March. And West Virginia didn't make the tournament last year, but and Nate Oates has been around for a little bit now, and he's shown the ability to win. But I just like how Bobby can kind of draw something up and create a little bit of stress. And I'm really intrigued to see. And it might not be West Virginia who does it, but I'm really intrigued to see how Alabama responds to some pressure that it receives in a big-time game. And the Tide have played in plenty of big games. They had a great non-conference schedule. They dominated the SEC, which is probably the second-best conference in college basketball this year. But it's just different in March. You look, there have been plenty of teams in the past that were loaded with freshman talent. I think back to one that was led by Mike Krzyzewski in 2019 with arguably the biggest college basketball player in the last decade in Zion Williamson. And eventually they ran into a little bit more of an older team with an experienced head coach who knows how to win in March. And they put the pressure on him, and it didn't work out. And I think that's probably the greatest chance of any of these teams pulling off an upset to get into the second weekend. I will say I don't hate Pitt's road if it can win against Mississippi State. I don't think it's a horrible matchup against Iowa State, and I haven't been impressed all year with Xavier. Now, me saying that means Xavier's probably going to go to the Elite Eight, so go ahead and make that a future if you're watching. But, yeah, and this isn't any disrespect to Penn State. I think Penn State's a really good team, but just
they have a tough road.
They really do. They really do. They have a tough first-round matchup, and I think and this goes to show how highly I think of Texas, I think they have this toughest second-round draw out of Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia. I think Texas is a better basketball team than Alabama. So that's just the tough thing. And like you mentioned, I mean, they played 4 games in 4 days. This team is running on fumes a little bit. And while they'll have a chance to reload, that type of stretch, does some stuff that you need a little bit more than a week to recover from for some teams. So
I think they definitely do have a chip on their shoulder, though, which at this time in the year is huge. I mean, I feel like everyone essentially has something to fight for, but I just spending the past 4 days with these guys, I've really seen that they just want to show people that they are a team worth talking about. So just thinking about it from that aspect, I could see them running on the vibes as well as good basketball to make it through. But like you said, I mean, I like Pitt's road. West Virginia, like you said, Huggins versus Alabama is could be good. But Penn State, I mean, I just think if you compare the 3 teams together, Penn State's the most likely, but when you look at their roads,
it's so hard.
And so I'm so excited to see what happens tomorrow, this weekend. It's just March. I can't, we started talking about this, and you might have even started talking about this on the show even before I got here, but we've been talking about NCAA tournament for months, at least 2 months now, and it's crazy that we're here.
I was talking with John Rothstein in Dayton just a couple hours ago. I mean, he said it. You just heard it from it. This is March. This is what you do. I mean, this is the best time of the year. So, Abby, as the world's biggest college basketball fan who has yet to fill out a bracket, we're going to wrap up the show with you telling me your Final Four and your NCAA championship game prediction.
Again, yes, I haven't filled up a bracket, but again, I was covering a championship game yesterday and then had a very early flight this morning. So was, trying to get myself together. So I haven't done a bracket. That's on the agenda for after this. The quick look at it, I put down Virginia, Marquette, Kansas, and Texas.
Ooh, all right. Who's your national champion?
My problem with I feel like the safe bet is Kansas, but my problem with Kansas is that I saw them play in November. Granted, it was in November, but like a Wisconsin team that didn't even make the field almost beat them.
Almost. So you saw them win, and that's your holdback.
Because I didn't think they played well. And so when you think of
Grady Dick was mean to you in a hallway, and you don't want to pick them to win the national championship.
He was actually really nice. No, it's just like, when you're picking these things, the first things that come to mind are the things that you've seen. And that's
fair.
I was in person at that game. I covered that game. And so like that it sucks that that's the holdup, because the safe bet is Kansas, but I really like Marquette. I'm going to go, and you're going to be mad at me because Wisconsin also beat Marquette, but and
they don't play defense at all, but okay.
That's fair, but I don't know. I just feel like Tyler Cole.
Just pick a final.
Okay. Oh, but I didn't write down who's on which side, so
it's fun. Texas, Kansas, Marquette, Virginia.
I'm going to do Marquette, Kansas.
Okay.
And I think Kansas edges out Marquette.
Okay, so you just talked about how you didn't want to pick Kansas. Now you're going with Kansas.
I don't want to pick Kansas, but I haven't done enough research to.
Here's why you pick Kansas. It's because they're the best team in the country, and because they have a great veteran guard, they have a great young talent, and they have a head coach who knows a thing or two about winning national championships. If you watched the tournament last year, and I understand
that is so hard, though.
It really is. But when you have Bill Self as your head coach, and you have Wilson running the point, and you have a blue blood program who knows how to win, and they're regularly in it, and they play big games, and they were the best team in the best conference all year, you pick them. Okay. So that's my pick. I have the Jayhawks wing it all. My final four is Houston in the top right quadrant, Kansas in the bottom right, Arizona in the top left, and Duke in the bottom left. And I have the Jayhawks edging out the Duke Blue Devils, who I think are playing the best basketball in the country right now. Fair. Not an easy road for John Shire and company, but I think they get there, and I think Kansas makes light work of them after spoiling Houston's potential Cinderella run. Not a Cinderella run because they're a 1 seed, but an incredible story, playing in the Final Four in their home city and what could be their head coaches last season. But nope. Kansas going to win it all. So just a couple of chalk people here picking a 1 seed, picking the defending champs, but that's what you get.
That's why I hate it, because I love the underdog, so I hate picking a 1 seed.
You only had 1 seed. You only had 1 seed in your Final Four, if that makes you feel any better.
That does make me feel better, yes.
That's probably not a great strategy, but hey, anything can happen.
I've always done it, and I am typically in the top 3 of my bracketologies because people try to play it safe, and I'm like a little reckless sometimes, and I pick the upsets that happen, and I get a lot of points at the beginning, and it's helped me this far.
Well, I'm excited to see how your bracket unfolds when you fill it out 2 weeks from now. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Follow along. We've got tons of March Madness content on our site, on this YouTube channel, and we've got a lot of other great stuff as well. It's the best time of the year. Keep following along. Have fun. I hope you have as much fun this week and this month as Abby and I will, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed it on Apple Podcasts, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down in the description.